to me, drumming is almost like a dance where I feel like this thing, and it helps my equilibrium, it helps my timing.
Got it.
Exactly, right?
Absolutely right.
I don't get I'm like, yeah, like lean into that hit, you know, like, are we good? Oh, are we already live? Oh, about to say. Talking about me playing drums, it's not even about that. But
isn't that what we're going to talk about anyway?
I guess so. We're
Okay.
going to talk about a message. We're going to talk about. Okay, and make sure to just let me know when we got like 5 minutes left. Cool. All right, what is up, guys? We're back live again, NAMM 2019. I'm beyond excited because I've gotten the opportunity to talk to some of the most influential people of the music industry this year, and I'm honestly just blown away that I get a chance to talk to the man that's sitting right next to me. I guarantee you, I'm going to introduce him, but he's probably going to do his own intro because that's just your character, Andy. I mean, I have Eddy Zildjian, CEO of Sabian. If you can't see it, I'm very honored to be sharing the stage with Mr. Andy. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. It's awesome to be at the NAMM show. We've got all these musicians, people who are passionate about what they do, hanging out, talking about things, enjoying, well, the best part is hanging out with drummers.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, because there's a difference in drummers than there are in other musicians.
Like how so? What do you think? We're more energetic?
I noticed this when say like a guitar player or somebody gets together, like, hey man, how you doing? Nice to see you. Good things, a little hug and that kind of thing. But when a drummer gets together, big hug. How you doing?
The
man?
embrace.
Yeah, absolutely.
Grab it.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that, man. I mean, honestly, I think NAMM is like our Christmas. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Everyone
Yeah.
looks forward to this every year. You come here, you meet up with your friends, you see what all the new companies are doing, you see what all the industry leaders are doing, what they're innovating.
Yeah.
I mean, it's your time to shine, basically.
Well, yeah, well, it's 4 days to meet the world. With that, and not only,
Is it enough time, though? Is 4 days enough time to meet all the people you need to meet?
Okay, I know a lot of friends are going to get mad, but no, it's not.
It's not enough time.
No, and everybody's like, I don't want to go home on Saturday. I'm like, come on, are you kidding me? We're having a party.
Dude.
Enjoy it.
This guy, if you come to NAMM, this is the guy to hang out with. Andy, honestly, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule here at NAMM, especially because 4 days, not enough. Not enough days for NAMM. Take note. Andy, I would love to just kind of let you take it away. I mean, I know you were talking to me a lot of great things that Sabian is doing, but you were telling me also the importance of having a message and what makes a company unique. And I'd love to just to hear what you're doing with Sabian and maybe just walk me through what your message is and all that stuff.
I can tell you, in the past, we'd always been talking about what we do and how we do it, which was, we are different than most other companies. I mean, for example, we hand hammer cymbals, which is not usual. There are some companies in Turkey, but at the same time, they're not hand hammering the same type of metal that we've got.
Really?
Yeah, it's the same formula, but it's not the same process completely. So you don't get that full, rich tone of sound coming out of it.
Right.
So, you know, we always have done that. We always hand make cymbals because we're working with a living metal. And part of what you're doing is, as you're making this and you're forming these cymbals, these sounds, you're putting energy into it. And as you're putting energy into that cymbal, itself it's getting its own personality. So
right.
It's growing, it's maturing, it's turning into something. You let it mellow a little bit, give it some time to mature, and then when the drummer or player, whatever type of percussionist is playing it, they start injecting their energy into it, right?
Right.
And which is really good. And that's the way it should be. That's what we do. But why we do it, the reason why actually we even started the company was because musicians, players, drummers, percussionists were always looking for their own personal sound.
Right.
And there was the why when we started Sabian, when we were with another company beforehand, did not align with our why, which was, our why was drummers are looking for a unique voice. They want something that's personal. They want something that when they're playing it, it's theirs only, and that's it. And it has to be rich, it has to be beautiful or trashy, but it's got to be theirs. And if you're just pressing out cymbals, if you're just throwing something together, then you're just making products, and you're not able to make anything that has its own personality.
Right.
And so that's why we're doing what we're doing, to make something that has a unique voice, so that when the musician's playing it, when the percussionist has that cymbal and they're playing it along, that's their creative voice that they are putting out there. That's their personality. And without that, without the right instrument to do that, you're screaming into a microphone that's been turned off. You can do anything you want, and it's not connecting. Whereas when you really connect with what you're playing with, you know the feeling.
Of course I do.
Playing with drums and it gets going and
you have to
everything
get
gets
into
energized.
it. And we were just talking about it before.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so for me, I get very excited all the time. And when I'm playing drums, I was telling you how I don't understand it. Again, it's a different process. So I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying I don't understand how there are other drummers that I know personally who are very serious when they play. They're either very stiff or they're just like focused, if that's the thing. Yeah. Not me. I'm the opposite. I lean into what I'm playing. I sort of dance with what I'm doing. And it does take a good instrument to be able to do that.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
It sure does.
Do you feel like with Sabian artists, are all the most of the drummers that play with your cymbals, are they unique in that way where they need to have that personality?
Well, definitely, because everybody's looking for their own voice, right?
Right.
It's their own unique artistic way of expressing themselves. And having a cymbal that can do that, it'll change everything. Now, okay, I make fun of my friends who work in the drum business, okay? I keep telling them that all drums are spacers for heads, right? I know, and they get very upset. But at the same time, a drum can be tuned and it can be changed. And I know people who have gone to different drum sets, travel the world and use different drum sets, but they will not go anywhere without their cymbals because that is their personal voice.
Interesting. That is absolutely true. It's one of those things where I would argue that the only personalized things that drummers can have that are basically what you can take with you are probably your cymbals and maybe sticks. You know, like sticks can be very like unique in that sense.
Bass drum pedal.
Bass drum pedal too, yes, I forgot about the bass drum pedal. But it's interesting to me because, you know, our instrument is huge. You know, we have big drums and it's hard to carry around everywhere, but the cymbals are essentially an extension of who we are, basically.
Exactly. It's the voice. It's what makes your sound personal.
Absolutely. I'm curious then, one thing that you said earlier that really struck my curiosity was you pride yourself in your company, and I can attest to this because your cymbals sound amazing and all your players all reflect that. You basically say that it's important for you to make sure that with your living, breathing metal, that you ensure that it has personality.
Yeah.
In simple terms, how do you train someone to ensure that they can make these cymbals with personality? Because they're hand hammered, so that means that each person is making them.
No,
how do you?
Not all of them are hand hammered.
Right.
But all of our cymbals, and any cast cymbal is handmade.
Right.
So it may be some of them not hand hammered ones; those are hand hammered completely. But others may have automatic hammering assisting, but they're moved by hand. And what happens is, just like when you play, okay? You play and you're getting into it and you're throwing here to there. You've got this energy that you're throwing out, right?
Right.
So these fellows who are up at the factory who are doing things like hand making the cymbal, they're lathing, cutting through, they're hand hammering, they're injecting the same type of energy because they're confident in what they're doing. They're craftsmen. And it's into the cymbal. And from that cymbal just like perks, becomes alive. So it's the same idea. You're really playing and putting it out there. They're putting it into that.
That's crazy. Yeah. Maybe I'm sort of branching off a little bit off topic, but you know, this fascinates me because I think we all know that Sabian is literally one of the top cymbal companies, and you seem to care. You care a lot about your players. How challenging is, or how picky are you guys with the people that actually make your cymbals? Like, how is that?
The people who make the cymbals?
Yeah, like you're talking about the workers. That's basically an art form in itself, and you encourage them to put their personalities into the cymbals. Is that a hard thing to do? Like to become that? There
are people who we've had for quite some time who just can't get to the point where they are really good at, say, like lathing or hammering or look, anything that has to do with the living metal. So they'll do other jobs. It's a skill. It's like drumming. You can find people who can play drums. Anybody can play drums. Right. But to do it well, that's very difficult. It's the same thing. You can find anybody who can hammer a cymbal, anybody who can do, you know, the heavy hot work of moving a cymbal from the oven to the rollers, back from the rollers into the oven. But to get somebody who knows how to lathe, and they're laying into it and they can feel that all of a sudden it's getting a little soft, and they know the touch, how far just to lean back a little bit, and then when it gets a little hard just to lean in a little bit more, that's a real skill. And these are craftsmen who have learned their way through it. So are there people who can't do it? Yeah, definitely. We've had people who have come through and love them. You're not going to be that kind of craftsman. There's probably something else that you can do. But there are other people who are so good at what they do. They're the only ones that can do it. We've got one cymbal, for example, that's the Omni, that is really thin on the edge. You've played it, right?
I've played it. It's amazing.
Really thin on the edge. And the thing is that we only have 2 people who can really lathe that correctly.
Really?
Right. And you know, unfortunately, we'll take a bunch of Omnis and have people learn from them. So we end up we got to chuck them out because they're learning, and they have to figure out that same feel. But these two guys, over 1 million cymbals themselves, and yeah,
a million cymbals between the two of them.
Each.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say that, but that's insane.
Yeah.
That's how masterful these guys are. And so
right.
That's the standard that you hold.
Yep.
For these cymbals.
Absolutely.
And see, that to me is refreshing because as a cymbal company with a message that basically puts the personality of a musician first, it's refreshing for me to hear that cymbal, the Omni, and other products just like it too, require that much of attention, require that kind of skillfulness.
Can I interject one thing?
Of course.
It's not just our standards, it's their own standards. Because every one of these people knows what it means to make a good cymbal. And they know that everybody else around them is relying on them to do the best job they can. And okay, some days people have bad days, I get that happens, but for the most part, everybody has the same type of team spirit and desire to do the best they can on a daily basis. So it's not just we're not just setting the bar, they're setting the bar and pushing it up all the time. So anyway, sorry.
No. And you know what? That sort of bridges into another question.
Yeah.
How did you guys manage to set that bar? Because again, I think all of us, myself included, as a young drummer, I've grown up seeing your brand and seeing just the cymbals and the great players that play with them. But you had to have earned that sort of dedication from your workers. I'm assuming.
Oh yeah.
I'm curious, like, how did your company manage to create that environment where your workers want the absolute best of their craft?
Well, I can give you 2 anecdotes and one personality. My dad, his personality and the way he was driven to make sure that why we started the company, to make sure that artists had the voices they were looking for.
Yeah.
He injected that into the people who were the leadership at that point. And so the first story was the first year that we were making cymbals, which back in '82, we had a bit of copper after the first 6 months that came in that wasn't right, and we didn't know it. And we manufactured a bunch of cymbals and put out the best ones that we could. They got in the marketplace and they started to crack. And we couldn't figure out what was going on. So we took a look and we figured out that the metal was bad. So we went out and bought all those cymbals back.
Really?
Yeah, we bought them all back.
Massive recall, basically.
Yep, massive recall. And typically what we would do with a cymbal that doesn't work is we'd cut it up and remelt it and use it. That copper was bad. We had to sell it.
Really?
Yeah, which is really not that good because you end up losing a lot of money. So we ended up having to sell that off. Another thing was there was a time there where our hand-hammered cymbals, for me, there was something missing. There was like a 4-year period where I'm listening to them going, something's not right. I can't put my finger on it, but it's not right. And Mark and I were talking. Mark Love, this is our cymbal guru.
Yeah,
we're
talking about him.
Our fearless innovator. And I was asking the question, what do you think? Couldn't figure it out. So one day I'm walking through the factory, and right next to where the hand hammer guys are. I say, hey guys, how you doing? And they wave back, hey. And somebody was using a machine to move the cymbals just to sort of keep them alive. And I'm looking at it thinking, that's not the right machine. Because you do have to keep them bent and keep them going, but that's not the one. So I came over and said, what are you guys making right now? So we're making HH. What are you making this afternoon? HHX. Okay. Do me a favor, we switched to HHX this morning, and then I'll talk to Norton, we'll come back. So I sat down, that was at 9 o'clock. At 11 o'clock, we had a previously scheduled manufacturing meeting. And I sat there and I said, hey guys, guess what I found out today? And they said, what? I found out that we're using this machine to make HH, and that's a lie. I'm not gonna have that. You guys should know. Did you not know this was happening? And they were like, no one knew. Somebody who had been there before had said, why don't we do this? It'd be easier. But when we found out about it, said, every HH that we have downstairs right now, cut it up. Because I'm not selling it with my name on it, and you shouldn't want to either. And they were all in agreement. Nobody knew what was going on with this one process that was wrong and ruined the sound. So Mike, my CFO, he's sitting there, I can see his eyes going like this.
Oh, he hates you.
He started to get nervous, the sprinkles coming down, and he goes, well, that's $250,000. So,
wow.
Worth it to me, get rid of it. And so we cut it all up. All gone, and started all over again. And that's the kind of dedication that we have to making sure that it's done right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that, and I can say that with absolute confidence because with any industry, right? Not just necessarily even the music industry. I think profit always comes first, right? I mean, that's the nature of the business, right? And we could that's a spiral of a topic that we can talk about for hours. But to me, I mean, we have been talking about it. But the interesting thing is that it seems to me like your priority from the very beginning, and the way you run your company and the way Sabian has set themselves up, is the customer and the performer and the personality of each cymbal always comes first, no matter what.
Absolutely.
And you're willing to bite the bullet to ensure that that quality stays there.
Oh yeah, like I was talking with a friend earlier, and I was saying, that it's business acumen would dictate, tell us that you have to stop doing the inefficient, that you have to stop doing things by hand, that you have to maximize your profits, and you have to automate. If we did that, we'd be just another hollow company with a name making products, and I don't want to go back to that. That was just wrong.
No, I'm curious for you. Like, do you feel like right now in the industry that again, I'm sort of speculating, but I don't see a lot of companies anymore having that dedication, seeking that personality, making sure that they're spreading that message.
Dude, are you really going to ask me that question?
I'm honestly going to ask you that question. I'm not going to ask for specifics. I'm just simply saying, what do you feel? Do you feel like that's something that's kind of plaguing the industry a little bit?
Let me put it this way. I have no problem with our company being alone out where we are, doing what we do for the reasons that we do it. And if nobody else wants to join us, I'm happy with that. Is that okay?
That is perfectly fine. You know what? And that's a very, very good answer, because I think your performers, the people that endorse Sabian, the people that you guys have on your roster definitely reflect your vision, reflect the personality. They're all probably some of the best drummers I've ever seen in my life. I grew up watching a lot of your drummers, and they tend to use your cymbals for decades. I think that's the reason why. And honestly, I'm blown away to know that you as an individual care about that, because it's so easy to just say, hey, this company A cares about customers, but to know that the one who runs the company, that's his priority, that's refreshing.
I'm a player too.
And that's what you care.
Yeah.
That's what you care. You
Absolutely.
want to hear the personality.
Okay, my wife says, you're traveling all the time, you're away from home. Boy, do you love this job? I said, absolutely do I love this job. And not just because of the people who are dedicated to it, but and that is a strong reason, but also because when I hit a cymbal and it gives me that energy back, the hair on my neck stands up.
As it should.
Absolutely.
Oh, dude, I'm geeking out just hearing you talk about it. I wish we had hours to talk. Honestly, thank you so much, Andy, for your time.
Yeah.
For some of the people that are at home that can't come to NAMM, one of the coolest things I always see, you guys always have a massive cymbal display.
The wall?
Yeah. What can people expect for NAMM 2019? Even bigger wall, similar wall? What do you guys?
Well, it's already up. Come on over and see it, man.
We'll have to take a picture and show everybody.
Yeah.
I'm going to come over and see it. Andy, thank you so much for taking time out of your day. I am beyond honored to be able to talk to you.
Oh, come on.
We'll have to grab a beer or something.
We're all in the same fraternity, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's true. We're going to have to jam together, and I'm going to have to hear your cymbals. Andy Zildjian, everyone, live here from NAMM 2019. Thank you so much, Andy.
Hey, it's a pleasure.